Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, uncharted ocean, its waves whispering secrets that have eluded humanity for centuries. The horizon stretches infinitely, blurring the line between sky and water, between what is known and what remains hidden. This is the feeling that grips you when you encounter this video, a sensation that you are not merely watching but stepping through a doorway, one that cannot be unopened once crossed. There are moments in life when the veil of ordinary perception thins, when the structures we take for granted, time, identity, purpose, reveal themselves as far more malleable than we ever believed. This video is one such moment. It is not merely content to be consumed, it is an experience that rewires the mind, a catalyst that ignites dormant realizations. Like an ancient alchemist's manuscript, it does not simply inform, it transmutes. The warning in its title is not hyperbole, but a sober acknowledgement of its power. Once seen, the world you return to will not be the same, because you will not be the same. We live our days under the hypnosis of routine, mistaking the well-trodden path for the only path. Society, culture, and even our own minds construct elaborate facades that convince us reality is fixed, that the rules we abide by are immutable. But history's greatest thinkers, the mystics, the philosophers, the scientists who dared to question, have always known that beneath this surface lies a deeper current, one that defies easy explanation. This video does not just hint at that current, it pulls you into its depths. Consider the way light bends through a prism, fracturing into colors unseen in the original beam. In much the same way, this video acts as a prism for consciousness, revealing spectrums of thought and possibility that were always present but never acknowledged. It is a mirror held up not to your face, but to your being, reflecting not just what you are, but what you have the potential to become. There is something almost celestial about the way profound truths unfold. They resonate like distant stars sending signals across the void, waiting for the right receiver to decipher their meaning. This video operates on this frequency. It speaks in a language that bypasses the analytical mind and speaks directly to the subconscious, to the part of you that already knows but has forgotten. The warning in its title is not a threat, but an invitation to shed the layers of conditioning, to step out of the labyrinth of borrowed beliefs and into the open air of true awareness. It is the kind of revelation that does not ask for your agreement, because it does not need it. Once encountered, its truth becomes self-evident, like waking from a dream and realizing the dream was never real to begin with. Every transformation has a threshold, a moment when the old self dissolves and the new one begins to take shape. This video is that threshold. It does not offer tips or life hacks, it offers awakening. And like all true awakenings, it comes with a cost. The cost of certainty, of comfort, of the illusion that life is something that happens to you rather than through you. To watch it is to accept that you may leave parts of yourself behind, the way a snake sheds its skin not out of choice, but necessity. There is no going back, not because the door closes behind you, but because your eyes have opened to what was always there. The warning is not about danger, it is about the irreversible nature of seeing what cannot be unseen. What follows in this exploration is not a mere dissection of the video's content, but a deepening, a slow unraveling of the threads it pulls at. We will move through its core themes like travelers mapping a hidden land, then descend into its symbolic heart, where meaning takes on the quality of myth. From there, we will bridge the ethereal with the everyday, showing how these revelations are not just philosophical abstractions, but living truths that reshape reality itself. But first, you must decide, are you ready to cross the threshold? To engage with this video is to step into a realm where perception is both the lock and the key. Its power does not lie in the novelty of its information, but in the way it reconfigures the lens through which you view existence itself. Like an ancient cipher, it reveals patterns that were always there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the moment of recognition. At its core, this video is not a lecture, but an initiation, a dismantling of illusions so seamless that most never realize they are trapped within them. To understand its impact, we must explore the foundational pillars upon which its revelations rest. These are not mere concepts to be memorized, but living truths that once absorbed alter the very fabric of how you interpret reality. One of the most pervasive myths of human experience is the belief that we are isolated entities, drifting through life as solitary observers in a world that exists outside of us. This video shatters that illusion with the force of a collapsing star, revealing the interconnected web that binds all things. It does not argue this point intellectually. It demonstrates it experientially, allowing the viewer to feel, if only for a fleeting moment, the dissolution of the ego's boundaries. Think of a river that believes itself to be separate from the ocean, only to discover, upon reaching the shore, that it was always part of the greater whole. This is the nature of the realization that unfolds, an understanding that the self is not a fixed point, but a flowing current in an infinite expanse. The implications are staggering. If we are not separate, then every thought, every action, every intention ripples outward in ways we can scarcely comprehend. Modern life operates under the tyranny of time, an unrelenting march forward that dictates schedules, deadlines, and the very rhythm of our existence. But what if time is not the rigid, linear force we believe it to be? The video peels back the layers of this conditioning, exposing time as a mental construct, a tool for navigation rather than an unbreakable law. Consider the way memory functions. A moment from decades ago can feel more vivid than yesterday. An anticipation of the future can weigh heavier than the present. This fluidity hints at time's true nature, not as a straight line, but as a vast interwoven tapestry where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. The video does not just explain this, it induces the sensation, creating a shift in perception where time ceases to be a prison and becomes instead a malleable medium. Beneath the surface of everyday life runs an invisible script, a set of unconscious beliefs, societal programming, and inherited narratives that dictate how we perceive and interact with the world. Most never question this script. They recite their lines without realizing they are in a play. This video acts as a spotlight, illuminating the stage machinery, the props, the director's cues, all the mechanisms that shape what we assume to be real. Once seen, these constructs lose their power. The realization is akin to a lucid dreamer waking within the dream, suddenly aware that the rules can be rewritten. This is not an intellectual exercise, but a visceral awakening, one that leaves the viewer with a singular, irreversible knowing. Reality is far more negotiable than we have been led to believe. Perception is not a passive reception of the world, but an active creation of it. The video demonstrates this principle with startling clarity, showing how shifts in awareness can alter not just interpretation, but experience itself. It is not that reality bends to our will, but that our will, our focus, our belief, determines which facets of reality we engage with. Imagine standing before a hologram, where tilting your head slightly reveals an entirely new image within the same frame. This is the nature of perception unveiled in the video. What we call reality is but one angle of an infinite dimensional projection. Change the angle, and the world changes with it. With these illusions stripped away, an inevitable question arises. If the self is not separate, if time is not fixed, if reality is not objective, then what is the purpose of it all? The video does not provide a neat answer, because the answer is not something to be given, but something to be realized. It leads the viewer to the precipice of this question and leaves them there, not in frustration, but in liberation. Purpose, it suggests, is not found in external validation or predetermined paths, but in the act of awakening itself. The continual unfolding of awareness, the endless discovery of deeper layers. To ask, "What is my purpose?" is to already misunderstand. Purpose is not a destination, but the very act of seeking, of expanding, of becoming. Running beneath all these themes is an undercurrent, a silent, pulsating truth that the video conveys not through words, but through resonance. It is the understanding that all of existence is vibration, that consciousness is the fundamental substrate of reality, and that what we call life is a dance of energy in endless transformation. This is not philosophy, it is experience. The video does not describe the ocean, it submerges you in it. And once you have felt the water, once you have tasted the salt, you can never again pretend you are standing on the shore. Every great truth begins as a whisper, a half-remembered myth, an allegory that lingers at the edges of understanding. This video does not merely convey information, it speaks in the language of symbols, those primal patterns that bypass logic and embed themselves directly into the subconscious. To fully grasp its power, we must descend beneath its surface and explore the archetypal narratives that pulse beneath its message. These are not stories in the traditional sense, but living currents, eternal motifs that have shaped human consciousness since the first fireside tales were told. They are the hidden scaffolding upon which the video's revelations are built, and to engage with them is to step into a realm where metaphor and reality blur into one. Ancient myths speak of the hero who ventures into the unknown, the underworld, the labyrinth, the dark forest, where ordinary rules no longer apply. This is not a journey of conquest, but of dissolution. The hero does not slay the monster, the hero becomes the monster, faces it, and in doing so discovers that the monster was only ever a shadow cast by their own fear. The video mirrors this descent. It does not offer easy answers or 10-step solutions. It strips away the armor of certainty and leads the viewer into the maze of their own psyche. Like Theseus without a thread, the viewer is left to navigate the winding corridors of their conditioning, their beliefs, their unexamined assumptions. There is no guarantee of escape, only the promise that if one presses forward, the center of the labyrinth will reveal not a monster, but a mirror. And what is reflected in that mirror? Not the face you recognize, but the face you have forgotten. The one that existed before names, before roles, before the world told you who you were supposed to be. In the Kabbalistic tradition, there is a story of the Shevarat HaKalim, the shattering of the vessels. It tells of a time when divine light poured into the world with such intensity that the vessels meant to contain it fractured, scattering sparks of holiness into the fragments of creation. Now it is said, our purpose is to gather those sparks, to restore what was broken. This video enacts a similar shattering. The vessels here are the structures of the mind, the rigid categories of identity, the fixed notions of time and space, the unexamined beliefs that hold our perception in place. The light that breaks them is the video's revelation, too vast to be contained by ordinary thought. And just as in the ancient myth, the breaking is not destruction, but the necessary prelude to redemption. What emerges from this rupture is not chaos, but a new order, one that allows for a deeper, more fluid engagement with reality. The cracks in the vessel are not flaws, but openings. Alchemy was never truly about turning lead into gold. It was about the transmutation of the self, the nigredo, blackening, the albedo, whitening, the rubedo, reddening, stages of purification through which the base material of the soul is refined into its highest expression. The video functions as a modern alchemical text. It does not seek to add knowledge, but to burn away illusion. The viewer enters in one state and emerges in another, not because they have learned something new, but because they have been stripped of something old. Like the alchemist's furnace, the heat of this revelation is unbearable until it becomes liberating. And what is the gold that remains? The unshakable knowing that the self is not a static thing, but a process, an endless becoming. In Hindu tradition, Shiva Nataraja dances the cosmos into existence with one foot raised in motion, the other planted firmly on the demon of ignorance. His dance is creation and destruction, chaos and order, all unfolding in a single seamless movement. The universe is not a fixed place, but a dynamic play, Lila, where forms emerge and dissolve in endless cycles. The video captures this same rhythm. It does not present reality as solid and unchanging, but as a dance of energy, a flickering projection where stability is an illusion maintained by habit. To watch it is to step into Shiva's dance, to feel the ground of certainty tremble beneath you, to realize that what you called reality is only one step in an infinite performance. And once you have heard the music, you cannot unhear it. There is a story of a son who leaves home, squanders his inheritance, and returns in shame, only to find his father waiting with open arms. The parable is not about repentance, but about remembrance, the moment of realizing that what was sought in distant lands was always present at the source. This video is that homecoming. It does not introduce foreign wisdom, but awakens a recognition, a knowing that feels less like learning and more like remembering. The viewer, like the prodigal, has wandered far in search of answers, only to discover that the answer was never lost. It was only obscured by the journey itself. And here lies the final secret of the video's symbolic narratives. They are not teaching you something new. They are reminding you of what you already know. The most profound realizations mean nothing if they remain abstract, floating in the realm of ideas without ever touching the ground of lived experience. This video is not a meditation to be admired from a distance. It is a current that demands to be stepped into, a shift in perception that rewires how you move through the world. But how does one bring the cosmic down to earth? How do these vast, almost ineffable truths translate into the minutiae of daily life? The routines, the relationships, the mundane decisions that fill our hours? The answer lies not in grand gestures, but in subtle recalibrations. Small but seismic adjustments in awareness that ripple outward, transforming everything without force. Most people sleepwalk through their days. Habits, societal scripts, and unconscious reactions dictate the majority of their behaviors. The video disrupts this automation by revealing the machinery behind it, the way beliefs shape reality, the way attention dictates experience. Integration begins with noticing. The next time frustration arises, pause. Ask, is this emotion mine, or is it a conditioned response? When rushing through a routine task, stop. Ask, who is truly in control here? My awareness or my habits? These moments of interruption are cracks in the facade, openings where new ways of being can emerge. The goal is not to eliminate habit, but to choose it consciously. If time is not the linear prison we've been taught, how do we engage with it practically? Expand the present. When eating, eat. When listening, listen. The present moment is the only point where time's illusion dissolves. Reframe procrastination. What you call avoiding a task may be your intuition resisting an action misaligned with your deeper rhythm. Play with synchronicity. Keep a log of meaningful coincidences. The more you acknowledge them, the more they appear, revealing time's fluidity. If perception creates reality, then every moment is a crossroads, a choice between multiple possible worlds. Experiment with shifts in focus. Spend a day noticing only beauty. The next day, notice only lack. Observe how the world rearranges itself around your attention. Question consensus reality. Just because everyone agrees something is true doesn't make it so. Where have you accepted definitions of success, of worth, of possibility without examination? Practice deliberate belief. For 1 week, adopt the assumption that the universe is fundamentally benevolent. Note what changes. Every person in your life reflects a facet of your consciousness. When someone irritates you, ask, what does this reaction show me about myself? Practice seeing strangers as aspects of your own psyche. The angry driver, the kind cashier, they are not separate from you, but part of the grand pattern you're co-creating. Your labor need not be a means to an end, but a sacred act. Infuse mundane tasks with intention. Washing dishes becomes a meditation. Answering emails transforms into energy exchange. Ask not just what do I do, but how does this task serve the whole? Alignment replaces grind. These realizations have societal implications. Systems of control rely on perceived separation. As more individuals awaken to interconnection, oppressive structures lose their footing. True revolution begins not with protest signs, but with the quiet refusal to accept reality as defined by power. The greatest challenge isn't understanding these concepts. It's embodying them in a world that rewards sleep. Prepare for discomfort. Awakening often means outgrowing relationships, careers, or identities that no longer fit. Embrace paradox. You are both insignificant and essential, fleeting and eternal. Let go of the need for external validation. Your truth needs no witnesses. There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the path dissolves beneath their feet, not because it has disappeared, but because the distinction between traveler and road has blurred into irrelevance. This video is not an endpoint, but one of these rare moments where the map burns away, leaving only the territory, raw, immediate, and alive with possibility. What began as a viewing has become, if you've allowed it, a kind of remembering. Not an acquisition of knowledge, but a shedding of forgetfulness. The warning in its title was never about danger. It was about the irreversible nature of seeing what has always been there. Strange, isn't it? To reach the end of an exploration only to discover that the very idea of an end is part of the illusion being dismantled. time loops back on itself. The last page of the book becomes the first. The video's revelations continue working in you long after the screen fades to black, unfolding in layers you couldn't perceive during the initial viewing. This is the hallmark of true transformation. It doesn't happen to you, it happens through you, at a pace neither hurried nor slow, but perfectly synchronized with your capacity to integrate. There will be days when the insights feel vivid and immediate, and others when they seem like half-remembered dreams. Both are part of the process. Somewhere in the silent spaces between the video's frames, between the words of this very text, a call has been sounding, not in your ears, but in your bones. It asks no allegiance to any doctrine, demands no adherence to any practice. Its only requirement is courage. The courage to stop pretending you are who they told you to be. The courage to live as if reality is as malleable as it truly is. The courage to stand alone in your knowing when the world insists on sleep. This is not a call to action, but to being, a shift so fundamental that action arises from it unbidden, like breath after surfacing from deep water. The practice of unknowing what now. How does one use an awakening that transcends utility? Start here. 1. Cultivate holy indifference. The world will try to reclaim you with its dramas and distractions. Let them pass like weather, neither cling nor resist. 2. Become a conscious node in the web. Each act performed with awareness sends ripples through the whole. Make your life a silent transmission of the truth you've glimpsed. 3. Die daily. Not physically, but psychologically. Let each sunset take with it the day's accumulated identities, resentments, and stories. Dawn naked. There's a story about a man who spends his life searching for treasure, only to discover it was buried beneath his home all along. The video was never the treasure, it was the shovel that helped you dig. What you unearth now is yours alone to behold. If these words stir something in you, don't cling to them. Don't make them another doctrine. Let them point you back to the silent space within where all answers arise, not as thoughts, but as knowings beyond language. The final warning was real. Nothing will ever be the same, but then neither will you.